Your boots stick to the dust-caked plywood floor of a staging base office. A laminated badge gets slid across the desk. A major with a polite smile tells you the rules. Outside, engines idle. Inside, you learn what access costs. This is your life, level by level, inside an embedded war correspondent's clearance. Act 1: The embed papers. You sign the rules that might get you killed later. The POW's office smells like burnt coffee and printer toner. A map of the OW is taped to the wall with blue painter's tape. You hand over your passport, your press letter, your vaccinations card, and you watch your name get typed into a system you can't see. The ground rules are plain language with sharp teeth. No exact grid coordinates, no future ops, no faces of certain locals, no comms frequencies, no casualty names until cleared. You're issued a helmet with scuffs, an IOTV that doesn't quite fit, iPro, a cat tourniquet, and a little paper showing where you're allowed to transmit near the comms shack, never near the line. You tell yourself you're here to document. You tell yourself the unit won't notice you. You tell yourself the camera is invisible. But the first time you lift it, someone squares their shoulders for the lens, and someone else looks away like you're a mirror. Your satellite phone feels light in your palm, and somehow it already feels like a leash. Act 2: The patrol that doesn't make the briefing slide. The mission exists, but nobody wants it remembered. You roll out before sunrise with a small element, enough rifles to look serious, not enough to feel safe. Inside the vehicle, the air is diesel and sweat and the chemical bite of a wiped-down seat. Comms checks rattle in your headset. Call signs, signal reports, a clipped, send it, then silence. You try to work without being friction. You wedge a notebook between your knee and your plate carrier. You count the hand signals. You watch for the small things the troops watch for. Disturbed dirt on the shoulder, a new trash pile, a cheap drone's whine, a dog that suddenly won't come near the road. Back at a halt, your footage gets the quick OPSEC glance. A finger taps the screen. Hold that. Another clip gets waved through. You learn what gets delayed, what gets blurred, what becomes a blank space you still have to describe. You tell yourself it's just a patrol. You tell yourself it's routine. You tell yourself routine doesn't kill people. Then the joking stops mid-sentence, like someone turned down the oxygen. This mission will never fit on a briefing slide, and that's exactly why it's dangerous. Act 3: Your satellite phone stops ringing. Silence becomes its own message. Your check-in window comes and goes. No editor, no desk, no POW relay with a rushed, "You good?" Your handset sits there with a dead, patient screen while the unit eats lukewarm chow out of plastic pouches and pretends not to look at you. You try anyway. You step away from the vehicles, angle the antenna at a slice of sky, swap batteries, reseat the SIM, wait for the bars that don't appear. Every attempt feels like striking a match in dry grass. Everyone remembers what a signal can mean, how a transmission can get traced, how a position can get confirmed the wrong way. The argument isn't loud. It's worse. A team leader tells you to stop trying. Another soldier says maybe one burst is worth it. Then they start counting weight in their eyes, and you realize you've become another body to hydrate, another casualty to carry. You tell yourself the network is down. You tell yourself it's weather. You tell yourself someone will call back. But the silence has a shape, and it feels like a decision. When your lifeline goes quiet, you learn how fast guest turns into liability. You still have your camera. You still have your press badge. Now the unit looks at those like tools, not credentials, and they're about to ask you to use them like a weapon. Act 4: The abandonment mark. You're still with them, but you're no longer carried in the plan. Someone peels a strip of green tape from a roll and slaps it on your helmet. No explanation, just a quick press of gloved fingers, like labeling a moving box. At the convoy brief, you stand near the plywood wall and watch the map. Routes get named, rally points get assigned, casualty collection points get pointed at with a pen. Your name never lands anywhere. The medic checks tourniquets, the gunner checks the feed tray, the interpreter checks his phone that has service where yours doesn't. You get told, softly, to stay behind the second vehicle and keep your head down. You tell yourself the tape is for accountability. You tell yourself it's for search and rescue. You tell yourself it's just a unit SOP. But you notice who else gets taped: new guys, stragglers, anyone the team has to keep eyes on. The lieutenant's gaze slides past you like you're a piece of excess gear. If you go missing, they won't be hunting a journalist. They'll be recovering an item with a marking system. You don't feel abandoned when they drive off. You feel it when they don't look back. Act 5: The transmission decision. You're offered a way to speak on terms that aren't yours. It happens at a halt, engines ticking as they cool. A squad leader crouches beside you and points at your camera, then at the far ridge line. He doesn't ask for coverage. He asks for angles. You crawl into a shallow scrape behind a broken culvert. Dust coats your teeth. Through the viewfinder, you catch the shimmer of heat, the dull flash of a lens, the tiny movement that becomes a possible observer. A radio hand signal. Wait. Another. Stand by. Then someone says your name like it's part of the fire plan. You tell yourself you're just recording. You tell yourself you're not directing anything. You tell yourself you can't be responsible for what they do with images. But the moment you show the playback frame by frame, thumb on the scrub bar, you watch their posture change. There, one whispers. Grid gets pulled from a GPS. A 9-line format starts forming in clipped syllables. Now the only connection you have to the outside world is being traded for target confirmation. Your lens was built to witness, and it's being used to aim. Act 6: After the quiet. You leave with footage and a silence you can't transmit. Night settles like a wet blanket over the vehicles. Red light only. No smoking. The perimeter is a ring of tiny noises: nylon shifting, a bolt riding forward, a muffled cough swallowed fast. In the morning, you're told you're being moved. Not extracted. Moved. You climb into a seat that isn't yours and keep your hands visible, palms dusty on your knees, like you're trying not to be mistaken for anything. At the gate, the ID check takes longer than it should. The guard reads your badge, then looks past you to the men behind you, waiting for permission to believe you. You tell yourself you'll file when you get signal. You tell yourself your editor will understand the gap. You tell yourself the story is in the footage. But you already know what won't be there. The tape on your helmet, the way your name entered their radio traffic, the way silence can be issued like an order. Your notebook has words that feel radioactive. You're released back into the world, but the unit keeps a piece of you in their SOP. Some clearances don't expire. They just stop protecting you. Access isn't a doorway. It's a tether, paid out 1 meter at a time until you forget how far you are from anyone who can vouch for you. You carry the same objects out that you carried in: camera, badge, helmet, but they weigh differently when command stops returning your calls. The war doesn't have to silence you. It only has to make you choose when to speak.